So I want to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that's robotics. Thematic investing has been a big trend in the last year. ETFs focus on hot topics like ESG, environmental, social, and governance, marijuana, and robotics popping up in the market. Joining us now for more, Bill Studebaker. He's the president and the CEO of ROBO Global, a fund that specializes in robotics, automation, and AI. And the important thing is that fund is outperforming the S&P 500 this year. Congratulations. There's the outperformance for you. Robotics, anything robotics seem to be hot right now. Explain the idea behind it and how you decide what goes in it.
Well, I guess we were fortunate 6 years ago to develop an index that tracks the growth in robotics and AI because we saw these technologies changing the way we live and work. Okay, we are on the cusp of ubiquitous automation, and we have an undeniable inflection point because of performance capabilities of computing and the cost curve declining such that these now are technologies that used to be science fiction now have actual use applications. So fast forward, 6 years later, and we are at a launching, pad in terms of the economic activity that we're seeing and the innovations, and it's being spread out to all parts of the economy, right? Every sector of the economy is going to benefit from robotics and AI.
And we put up some of your holdings here just to give you a sense. The 2% and a number of them. Oceaneering International, they operate remote vehicles for the energy business. That's robotics. IPG Photonics, that's a 2% holding. They make lasers. FLIR Systems, they do thermal imaging and video monitors. Do these all get a substantial part of their revenues from robotics or robotics-like businesses?
Definitely. So we try to identify the companies that we think have the highest revenue threshold that corresponds directly to selling the technologies. So we're looking for high revenue purity. We're also looking for, a large technological moat around their business. I think we have an interesting lens to capture this. We actually have 7 PhDs in our team. They're really the who's who in robotics and AI that have built technologies, built businesses, or academic researchers, et cetera, that give us a great lens to see not what yesterday's winners are, but what the future winners are likely to be. So I think that gives us an interesting lens.
Well, there's a lot of research that goes into that, understandably, but it's not cheap. It's almost a 1% expense ratio, and that's fairly high overall. Do you feel that's justified given the research you have to do for this?
Yeah, listen, we actually charge the official fee is 95 basis points. We do rebate securities lending, which is effectively they're 25 basis points. So the actual cost is 70 basis points to investors. With a team of industry experts that we have tracking this, I think that we do a pretty good job of generating the alpha that investors are looking for. The index is up a little over 20% year to date. The last 3 years is probably close to up 15%. We think the inflection is starting here, and we've got years, if not decades, of growth ahead of us.
You, Todd, robotics, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, any kind of technological disruptive technology, we could call it, seems to have interest on the part of investors. Will they necessarily pan out in the long run? We had this interest with the internet craze 20 years ago.
Right, so thematic-oriented ETFs. So Global X has a robotics ETF as well. iShares has a robotics ETF. We've got a number of other firms that have seen these long-term thematic plays and are offering a play to be able to do that. So we think investors need to look at this space, but also look inside. So the holdings that you saw on Robo are not exactly complements of what you see from other ETFs.
Yeah, Jay, you've also got something similar here, BOTZ. Are you seeing investor interest in the space? I love talking about this because I think that's where the future is. Whether or not they're going to make money in the long term, this group of companies you've assembled is still not clear to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, investors are future focused. By definition, they want to grow their portfolios and they're looking for where is that growth going to come in the future. Robotics and AI, we think, is one of the most powerful growth engines that we see in the market today. But there's other themes as well. The growth of fintech and what we're seeing in mobile payments, the growth of the IoT, the Internet of Things, and 5G are also very powerful themes. So we've been very focused on growing our thematic suite.
Bill, before we let you go, you've got a new ETF out, sort of an extension of the ROBO brand here just in the last day or two. Global healthcare technology. I guess this is the same theme, right? Modified equal weight, quarterly rebalancing. You're looking at healthcare stocks that are disruptive technology involved in the robotics industry. I see you have Illumina in here where they do gene sequencing. You have Brooks Automation. They do biological sample management. You have Ping An Healthcare and Technology. That's that first one there with the orange and the happy face there. They do, they're a virtual care provider, right? They do online doctors and things like that.
So for us, healthcare is probably one of the most exciting areas for investors to think about. Why? we're going to a world of prediction, prevention, individualizing medicine. Effectively, we're going to create much healthier livelihoods for us, but more importantly, longer longevity, right? And so we live in a world that's been historically sick care. We deal with the problem after it happens. We're now going to a world of prevention, prediction, and individualizing medicine. A lot of healthcare structures tend to focus on therapies, right? We're actually focused much more on the prediction and the prevention. So diagnosis and medical instruments and regenerative medicine and prevention, right?
Yeah.
And so these are kinds of technologies that investors need to embrace when they're thinking about healthcare.
The two thematics that seem to matter to me are ESG, that's got a little bit of traction, and I call them technological thematics like robotics and BOTZ. Would you agree, or is there some other thematic aspect that we're missing that we should pay attention to this year?
I think those are those key ones. So ESG products have been popular. Some institutional investors have been gravitating towards that. And then more technological products, but that are different than what you'd get in XLK or VGT, the heavyweights in the space. So you're not going to find Microsoft and Apple in some of these more thematic-oriented ETFs.
That's exactly what I like about them.